to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I will be your host for the sunniest day of the year so far. It's hot, hot, hot and scorching, and I wish I had myself some ice cream, or maybe some clotted ice cream. I feel like heading off to Cornwall, take a kind of walk down the street, never guess, just go and bump into Mr. Ed Harrison on the way. Hello, Ed. Hello, Ed.
You found me. I tried hiding down here and can't escape you.
After all this time.
After all this time, I've been down in Cornwall for 2 weeks and you've already found me.
Gonna come back.
I bet you put a tracker on me, didn't you, last time we spoke?
Give me that clotted cream, ice cream you can.
Oh, it's so good.
I tell you what, you can try and hide from me. You can change the name of your game company.
Yeah,
you can run, but you can't hide.
It in small print, except from Richard.
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm very good. You know, down here in sunny Cornwall, it's been non-stop sun since I arrived, so I'm loving it. I'm very chilled, very
relaxed.
Mellow. Oh yeah.
Have you partaken in facial hair?
Yeah.
Have you got a beard going on?
The beard's always been going on, but it's less tidy these days, and no one's judging, so I just let it grow. And yeah,
do you occasionally put beards in it, like beads in it and stuff like that, decorate it up? Are you
I do put beard baubles in it at festive times. But God, they hurt. All you do is pull one out and it just plucks a few of those moustache hairs.
That's just not good at all. For a bit of history, because everybody's going to be going, but they're just talking away like, you know, they've been talking for the last 5 minutes. What's going on here? About almost a year ago, me and Ed Harrison, had a conversation about a game called EVERDARK, which was a thing about rotating boards and concentric circles and whole types of fun. And we had a good chat and we had a good laugh. And then life happened, as it always does. And now Ed isn't back because I am actually standing in his doorway with a microphone.
Get out! Let me put some clothes on.
It's hot. It's Scottish. I'm in Cornwall. Of course I'm just going to be going out in my pants. try to get a tan. But there's been Adventure Games. Edventure Games is here.
Oh, I love puns.
Walrus Games has goo-goo-jubed its way out of the building, and we're going to talk about EVERDARK. We're going to catch up with Ed. We're going to find out what he's been up to with EVERDARK and what you can expect from EVERDARK, and remind everybody what a fantastically, potentially wonderful game it is, and it's going to be. I guess I should say, for people that haven't listened to us before, thank you very much for joining us, because you could be doing so many other things. There are so many other wonderful outsidey, indoory type things you could be doing, and so we appreciate if you're listening along for the first time or for the 175th time. The reason that we do this is quite simply there's not enough podcasts out there about board games. We are part of the trio of Scottishness, which is ourselves, the Unlucky Frog, and also the Giant Brain podcasts. I say we're in a network. They've told me if I go near them again, they're going to set the dogs on me. It's a slight difference of opinion, but we're hoping it's going to change into something better with us at the head of it all. But, you can dream. Another reason that we do this is because me and Ed have been talking on and off for the last year, and as we said, it's time to revisit what he's been up to and kind of take it from there and introduce people who haven't listened to it before, because we do have a fair smattering of people in the good old Americas. So howdy to everybody out there. Yeah, exactly. To find out a little bit about yourself. Can I come inside now, or do we have to do this whole thing outside, standing on your doorstep?
Grab a seat.
Thank you.
And I'll crack open a beer.
Can I have a lemonade?
Yeah, sure. Probably for the healthy reasons.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, I can't even afford beer anymore anyway.
You not got ice then? No.
We got ice.
Okay. Thank you. Here's to good health.
Thank you.
Right. So, we set the way back clock to a year ago.
Yeah.
And EVERDARK is kind of there and kind of was looking like it was going to be. There's some very, very nice things said about it. Andy at Polyhedron Collider and Steve at Polyhedron Collider had a shot of it and liked kind of what they played. You kind of put it on hold for a bit. I mean, were you wanting to work on it more? Was it just kind of you put everything to one side? I mean, what kind of...
It was a bit of both. I did put it on hold for personal reasons. I needed some Ed time. I took some time off because I'd spent so long working on it, and other areas of Ed life needed focus and attention. So I did take some time off for that. But also, I actually sent a copy off with Andy last day at Games Expo to review. He sat down and he played it, and he said some very interesting things. I think that's my first proper real review. And and I read what he said, and it was great that he enjoyed it. But there was a few things that he found were a little. He wanted to see change, I guess. I think he wasn't, and he's one of my biggest supporters of this game, and he's been following it since the moment it came out into the first Games Expo in 2016, or my first anyway. So I went away and I just wanted to rework it. I mean, I sat down and I've been talking with another designer, Dan from Intrepid Games, and we put, he was basically like interviewing me, like, trying to work out what do I want from this game and what I feel like it's achieved or what it's not achieved. And I realized that a lot of the core concepts that I wanted in trying to tell this story and be about survival were being missed, and I wanted to try and bring it back to what it used to be. So a lot of it's been reworking. It's been a lot of maths involved. Countless variations of a spreadsheet which has had numbers and equations and boring stuff, and trying to basically make it as balanced and and just get it to work properly. And it's always worked. It's just I want it to be better. And it's only now recently that I feel like it's now got to that. It's now, it's really reignited the passion I had for the game. It's so much better than it was. I mean, 2016, it was a very rushed game. It was very unique at the time because rotating boards were, I think there was a couple made back in the 80s or something, but no one had done it. So it was such a fresh idea that, people just loved the way it looked, but actually they sat down and played it, they would have realized it was just a cover, and now it's got the cover and it's got this core concept behind it, these mechanics, these features that just make it so much more enjoyable to play, and it's been balanced, it's been worked, and it can be stressful at times, but it's come a long way in the 2 years I've been working on it, which actually, thinking about it, isn't long at all for a one-man army.
Was it difficult to strip out the stuff that had been there for a long time? I mean, how difficult is it to take a project that you're basically you're eating, sleeping, spending waking hours with, for you to actually say, that's not working, or that's not where it is, or I need to strip it back? I mean, do you have to be really kind of self-critical in your mind when you're doing something like that?
What helps is having a second brain. And again, to the people who have sat down and helped, and bounced ideas to me and then off me and stuff, they've been a huge part of it, because you can become so focused on these mechanics that you've created and you think are the bee's knees, and then they kind of sit there and go, it's really not, Ed. Maybe you should not have that. Or they even bring up things that you never thought about, and so there was at the beginning some reluctance from me to take features out and stuff, or to tweak things. But that's got easier as it's gone along. In fact, I was up until 4 a.m. last night, and I was just redesigning one of the cards. Not much of a change, but as in terms of the mechanic, but in terms of the visual appearance, it's changed. I started from scratch just to see what it looked like. And there's quite a lot of satisfaction to be had in starting fresh and starting something again from a completely new perspective. So no, actually, I don't think it's once you get into the idea, you got to make changes. It gets easier to do, and you get more willing to do it. But it's good to have people around you. And people keep saying, some of the companies I talk to, they say, the fact that you've done so much by yourself is so admirable. And I'm jealous of them because they sit down, they have their Skype conferences across the world, and they're all doing stuff, and it's just like, and there's just me sat there by a screen by myself in a dark room in Cornwall, clicking away, occasionally swearing and drowning my sorrows in, well, what I can afford, water. Drowning my sorrows in Cornish water, but
with clotted cream floats.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to starting the next Devon Cornwall war over scones or scones, or whatever you want to pronounce it. Is it jam first or is it cream first? I mean, I think the Queen recently did it the wrong way round, and the Cornish are upset. So I'm looking forward to adding to that fun.
What is it meant to be? And is there some kind of quick card game in it? See, I don't care because I got celiac. So as far as I'm concerned, you could chuck all the scones out into the sea, and I'd be quite a happy person because the wheat intolerance does not mix well with your scones or your scoons or your scones or whatever the fuck you happen to be wanting to call them that.
It's a separate argument entirely.
It is. It's the third annoying way. Do you know what I mean? Which way do you want? Jam and cream or cream and jam? It's like, I don't care.
I don't actually. There's got to be a middle ground. I mean, I know if I say it one way, someone's going to get offended and say I'm wrong. I mean, I think for an aesthetic way, I'd go cream first, then jam, and
really?
I think just because cream's a bit easier to spread onto something textury like a scone, jam just gets slopped on top. Wow.
Okay, I just think it depends on the jam.
But
if you're going for seedless or not.
But having said that, if my dad and my stepmom ever hear this interview, one of them will disown me on the spot because it's a Sunday argument every Sunday without fail. They will argue about it, and I love to stir it up.
Why don't? Right, this is the easiest way out of it. Okay, get a scone. Okay.
Yeah.
You put your jam on first. You put your cream on. You cut the thing in half, and then you turn one of the halves upside down. Problem solved.
That could work. But you're now insinuating that you've got to make it back into a sandwich. I mean, do people make? I thought you're supposed to have them in two halves. At that point, you got the top half, the bottom half. Can you have it as cream and jam one half, and then jam and cream the other half, and then you got best of both worlds. And then if anyone criticizes you, you just lob the half they don't like at them. And solved.
That means in that term, you should maybe be putting potentially solider jam in there. The stuff, the stuff that when you put it with a spoon, you really need to press down hard in order to get it to spread. There's a whole entire war thing. I can see why you said there's a potential war going on.
Someone's got offended.
I don't care.
No, neither do I. But I've got to live here. What is the Cornish way?
Could you imagine they're going to take you outside? They're going to drag you down the street, and then they're going to smother the top half of you in clotted cream. They're going to smother the bottom half of you in jam. Oh no! And then you're going to be put in a huge wicker scone.
No, you're right as well, because the Cornish way is to do it the other way around. It's jam then cream. Oh no, I failed my first Cornish test. No.
Oh no. It's okay, we can edit this bit out.
I'm a man of my word, you've got to keep it in. I will live with the consequences.
There's going to be people in America going,
what the hell are they talking about? They spent about 5 minutes talking about cream and jam.
There'll be like about 50 people on Board Game Geek trying to look up the Cornish scone game.
You know what? It's got to be made, but yeah. If any Americans are listening, this is British problems over here. This is a thing the UK has to deal with on a regular basis, unless you're Richard, who doesn't even like scones anyway for wheat intolerance reasons.
Exactly. You're obviously just getting things absolutely mixed up for no other reason than I reckon you're actually trolling the people of Cornwall.
Possibly.
Because you know fine well what it is, and you're just saying, well, how far can I push this?
I've discovered recently that I love just pushing buttons and just having a bit of fun. And I've lost my filter. I just say what I feel like these days. And it's so liberating. I just talk. And it annoys people sometimes. I'm just like, I don't care.
Doesn't matter. Do you know what's going to happen? Somebody's going to stick some scones in a paper bag and set fire to that paper bag.
What, leave it outside my front door?
Leave it outside your front door, and then you're going to come out and just stamp on it. You're going to end up with scone. You're going to end up with scone up the door. And do you know what they'll do? They'll not use strawberry or raspberry jam. They'll use blackcurrant jam, so it stains.
Oh, God. Evil geniuses.
Just awful.
Credit to the Cornish. They know what they're doing when it comes to pranks. They throw.
I don't think you could talk your way out of this. I don't think you've
I'm
taken
doomed.
it too far. I don't even know where we are. Welcome to the great We're Not Bakers special, where we talk about the various different ways you could use clotted cream.
Yep.
And I mean, is clotted cream plentiful? Do they have it just sitting about the streets? You can pick it up like something out of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
It runs through the streams. I mean, you look out the window into the Becks, and it's clotted cream. I mean, I think they've got a problem. I think that's why they keep trying to tub it up and sell it off to us. It's like, oh God, more, go. Yeah, tell the rest of England. Oh yeah, it's a delicacy. Yeah, you put jam on first.
Have you considered including some kind of scone card within Everdark?
Ooh, okay. That's not the answer you wanted. I have now.
I just think it would be like some kind of everlasting bread that they used in Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, lambus bread.
I've got an even better idea, right? And then the card can be played two ways. You can have it. can have it facing one way, and it gives you one power. And you can turn it round 180 degrees, and it gives you a different power. And one of them is the jam on top, and one of them's the cream on top.
But either way, you're gonna have some angry citizens chasing you through the city, and I don't think I can have that responsibility in my hands. I mean, I want this game to be fun, not about. This is perfect.
I want it to be fun. I want it to be.
There's too much stress.
About darkness taking over the world.
Not
but at the same
jam
time,
and cream taking over the world.
It's got to be fun at the same time.
Well, we could call it. Call it Everscone or something.
Oh wow, that's it.
Yeah, no.
Everscone. There's just an entire plethora of kind of various different baked products that you could add as expansions to this game. We could just change it, completely change it.
I've not gone too far. It's not been released. It could happen.
It could. I mean, you could still. You have been talking about kind of tearing the game down and kind of starting again. So I mean, this is potentially a good direction to take it in. But on a serious note, not a serious note. I mean, has working on the changes in Everdark, has it given you ideas for other games that you're thinking about doing there?
Yes. So I don't know. I went out for a beer back in York with friends. The guy who basically got me into doing this board game, and I completely blame my entire last 2 years of my life on him. So we sat down, we're drinking beers. I got this card game I really want to do. He says I'm completely insane for the sheer scale behind it, but so that's a future problem. But if I ever get this game off the ground, it'd be huge. It's gonna be, but based off of the platform for Everdark, so you've got this stage platform with these different things. Because I can't afford to do any more prototyping. What I could do is I can print off some planets, spray the whole thing black, and basically you can almost have some sort of solar system based game with these rotating rings of a solar system, and some sort of space simulated game, which is what I'm quite tempted to mock up at some point. But no, I've got too many ideas. That's the problem. I mean, if you were to go onto the Edventure Games website, there's like a coming soon section which I've had to resist to fill out with too much info, mostly because I've got so many ideas, and if people think I'm spending all my time doing that rather than Everdark, it might cheese a few people off. But yeah, I've got 3 possible games in the works already, which I'd like to get focused on, along with one I want to focus on, along with expansions for Everdark. It's just my brain's gonna explode. I need help. I need people to assist me. I mean, I think having Everdark as almost like it's right now it's you controlling a person kind of strategy game, and you're moving around, but having this rotating board has so many potential applications to it. Like, what if you had more of like a like an army-based strategy game on there. So based in the same city, but instead of having individual people, you had these little clusters of troops, like guardians versus the skier, which are these shadow monsters. And you can almost have like a rotating risk board in a way. I wouldn't ever copy Risk; it's a bit too yeah. But you got this board that you got all these defenses lined up holding this key location, but suddenly your opponent starts twisting the board and moving your army away from the point it's supposed to be defending. I mean, that could be both frustrating and also quite interesting. So I want to see what else I can do with this platform. Also because you don't want to know how much I spent on the plastic platforms to get 10 copies made. Yeah, so I have to keep milking this for as long as I can.
Hey, you got a volcano game?
We get volcano game. There we go. Give us some sort of Aztec-y volcano name.
Kind of thing. You've got to get up to the top and pray or offer a sacrifice, depending on what you want to do.
Sacrifice your opponents. There we go.
There you go. And what happens?
Sacrifice your scones.
Don't. Let's move away. We have to step away but the jam would make excellent lava.
There we go.
You could do marmalade. Oh.
That's a step too far. It's
no seedless stuff. It's fine. It's the only stuff that's got seeds, which is quite or rind in it. Whoever eats marmalade with rind, it's just an awful thing. But you can get up the top, and then if you don't get there in time, you've got the volcano erupting, and then you get little kind of red things that take up the spacers, like you have in Everdark just now, where the darkness takes over certain parts of it.
Yeah, and as they pour down, they kind of spread out to cover up more areas.
Yeah.
And he gets blocked off by fiery death.
Yeah. I suppose we better tell people a little bit about Everdark, because it's a concentric ring system in that you've got different layers. So you can imagine you've got a huge base layer, and then you've got smaller kind of layers on top which rotate, so allowed you to create paths, create blockages, create pathways and other such things. And the idea of the game is to basically take over as much of the area as you can without kind of getting the darkness to kill you at the same time. Help me, Ed, it's your game.
I was just like going, it's been a while. It's definitely been a year since we spoke.
Yes.
Mostly is. I mean, the idea is basically you're in the city that's it's called Foss, and it's been banished to what's known as this realm called the Everdark. So the gods basically sent the Greeks out there and said, you guys, you've gone screwed up. You're gonna spend eternity here. And you're in the city, and as this darkness kind of closes in on this city and starts to consume it, you've got to save as many people as you can. So the game actually takes place after this cataclysm, and there's what's called a Lightbringer, and he keeps all the darkness out of the city. But as he comes to the end of his life, the lights start to dim and fade because his life energies get given out and he can't power the light. So usually they replace him with another person, the most worthy person in the city, to become the next Lightbringer, and everything is fine and peace reigns throughout this dark, dingy city. But in this case, based in this game, is that the Lightbringer has actually died unexpectedly through foul play, some sort of coup. But in his death, instead of having this gradual dimming where you can actually go in and just replace him as normal, it's just gone. The lights are going out, and all that's really keeping it is just these fires that are around the city that are kind of keeping the darkness at bay. So as the darkness starts seeping in through different weaknesses, people are trapped. They're being consumed by this darkness. So you've got to go around these locations and you've got to basically save people. And kind of get them to safety in your sanctuary, your refuge, or little temple. But the reason why I took the game back was because I didn't feel like there was enough hard choices. When you got calamity everywhere, who do you save? And there wasn't enough of that, I felt. So now you're kind of picking between, do you save the soldiers, do you save the priests, or do you save the civilians? And so you're going into these situations, and each situation will have a difficulty to it. So you might go into a section and it might be really easy to save the civilians, but while they'll get you some sort of a civilian token which can be used to get you civilian based abilities, they wouldn't get you as many points as say if you went off to rescue the priests, who would give you more power, more crystals to use to basically perform better in these situations. So you've got to decide: do you go for the points? Do you go for the crystals? Do you help the soldiers and get a mixture of both?
Yeah.
And either way, you can't save everyone. You'll rescue the few people you can. You've got to get them back to your place, back to your temple. And kind of cache them, essentially. You store them in this safe place, and you score points. If you get intercepted by these shadow monsters that are bouncing around the board, you will lose half of them. They'll either scatter into the city in panic, or they'll get killed. But you gotta go and grab your points and get back out and cache them and repeat. And at the start of the game, there aren't any of these monsters running around these rings of this board. But as the game progresses, more and more go in, and they start moving around, up and down around the city, and they get faster and faster until it becomes a bit of a dangerous clusterfudge of just spinning rings, spinning monsters, and people across the table from you laughing their heads off as they start twisting this board and messing with your maze paths, which brings me on to the main feature of the game, is this maze. Because people listen to what I just said and they've got no visual concept. Basically, it's set in the city, and the city itself is there's 4 ring tiers that twizzle. You've got a center space, and then you have 2 outer rings on the outside of the city, which are essentially the crops and the fields. They're static. But the 4 inner rings, they all twist, and they form this like labyrinth of twisting paths, which can be connected and reconnected in different kind of alignments to kind of access and open up new areas of the city for you. So you'll move to this location to try and complete this event, but in doing so, you'll move to a space, and while you wait for your next turn, you have every other player's actions to wait for, and as they're twisting the board, it's going to mess up your plans. So you've got to constantly be switched on and watching these paths change and twizzle, and have to recreate these new paths to get to your new locations. So you've got to be constantly watching. You've got to be constantly paying attention to what's happening. So there's no switching off. There's no pausing. It's very full on.
How'd you get around the kind of the potential randomness? Then, I mean, is there ways that you can stop people from kind of making their moves or moving the rings round as kind of far as you want them to? Or
well, everyone's limited to 4 actions a turn. So those 4 actions are limited down to movement and twisting the rings. Now, the rings have these little markers on these little lines on them that all line up. And 1 action point is basically how much you can twist a ring until the lines reconnect. So that stops people from going completely crazy and just spinning it like nuts. So yeah, and then your 4 actions, you don't have to use them all. You could just move 1 space, and you can use your last 3 actions to screw everyone else up. Or you can just say, that's my turn, move on to the next person. There are abilities in there which can mess with that. There is one ability, I haven't really got a catchy name for it yet. I just call it Infospin. And basically it allows you to spin 1 ring as far as you want, which is very useful, but it's a one shot. It's used up, and it can only be reset once you get back to your temple to restock. So there are ways to really manipulate the board in quite a powerful way, but the majority is limited by action points. I don't want people to go too crazy. I don't want everyone to have too much fun now. I mean, come on.
It's not
about fun. It's just serious, guys.
It's a serious business.
People are dying.
People aren't dying, Ed, specifically in the whole board game thing. But I kind of get where the potential drama could kind of come from.
Yeah.
When you're playtesting it, have you continued to playtest it with the new changes that you've made? Have you? Are you in a local board game group that you're taking it along to people who are like, oh no, here comes Ed with his Clotted cream and his EVERDARK? Or, have you had the ability to continue to play test the game as you've been going? You still kind of involved in local test groups and things like that, just to kind of, I guess, check the progress that you've made?
Yeah, there was the London board game kind of meetup group, and I took it along a few times to there, but I made the mistake of not booking myself in. But And that was great. You know, it was good to meet people. Andrew from EA Games, he was a regular attendance, along with Bez, stuff like Bez. They were all there, which is really cool. And yeah, we'd go along, and yeah, it was good to show it to people. And as I mentioned, I've got some friends now with a couple of companies. The Lander Crew and Intrepid Games, and I got another friend who's working on his own game called Zombie Princess, and he's been helping me playtest it. And so we'll sit down, we'll play it, I'll make some changes, I'd come back and we'd play it again, and we just systematically worked through it to kind of make these changes. I mean, Dan bless him, he was on a flight to Houston. He took his laptop and he sat there on the plane, and rather than watching an in-flight movie like most normal people would do, he was actually sat there on a spreadsheet, and he was going through all the maths of the game and kind of trying to create it a bit more, rework these cards. And from that spreadsheet is what I based all of my future updates from. I'll tweak the numbers and make sure everything kind of balanced out. And so I actively am playing the changes we're making. I mean, there's a change I'm just tweaking at the moment, nothing major, but as soon as I got it printed, I'll do that next week. I'll be play testing it again, and and hopefully this is the final change, or the final major change. And for the Games Expo, people can take copies and review it, play it, criticize it, love it, hate it.
Yeah.
Whatever the community wants to do with it. I want to be at the stage, and I hope in a less than a month's time I will be, where they can, it's the fate's in their hands. If people want this game, then in a month's time they can demand it en masse. I hope, please.
Is it difficult to draw a line under things, to kind of like step away from it for something you've been involved in 2 years? I know you said like, oh well, it's only been 2 years to compare to some people. Frank West, I think, spent 3-4 years maybe on City of Kings. Is it difficult, you being, you yourself and I, as a sole kind of designer developer, to be able to say, right, no, this is it. No more tinkering, Ed. Step away from the board, put the cards down, put the box back on the top, and stick the game kind of in the fridge to kind of let it set, kind of thing?
If you spoke to my family and a few of my friends, they would say, Ed, step away from it now and stop. It is difficult, because this is my first game. If I released something that I didn't feel was as good as it could be, it's like my opening song, and if I go on and it's just rubbish and people like boo, get off stage, I might never get another chance again. So I wanna.
What's your opening song?
Do I want to sing for you? If I think about news viewers.
I don't want you to. That's. But what would you be your opening song?
Well, EVERDARK. EVERDARK is my first ever game. It's.
But what song would you sing though, Ed? What would be your opening song?
I guess go Everlong by Foo Fighters, because it sounds like EVERDARK.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus it's a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? So I'll sing Everlong to EVERDARK, and
mine would be Summer Lovin' by Grease, from Grease.
Okay, that could be the background doing that.
Yeah. Yep. I just need somebody to sing the role of Danny, because I do an excellent Sandy. I'm just saying.
Sure. Let's have a couple of rehearsals beforehand. We can come on to the next.
Not do it. Yeah.
The next episode, we could start off with the intro of just singing some Grease Lightning.
Oh, he's good for it. We've let him loose.
No, I watched my Audacity levels spike, and I was like, you know what? Not having any.
I'm gonna turn it down a bit.
Oh, we've reached 0.5.
I know. And you know what? He was friendly, holding my hand. But anyway, moving on. But no, as I say, it's like, this is your first game, so it's an important game.
Yeah.
With it taking, a reasonable amount of time to get this, and you are talking about other games, are you the next games that you're thinking about, are you thinking, well, they're not going to have any plastic rings in them, for goodness sake, there's not going to be doing that again? I mean, have you looked into kind of other ideas? Are you toying with a card game? I mean, or are you going, you know what, big box miniatures. That's where it's at.
That is where it's at. Sadly, it's not where I'm at. I kind of broke the bank a couple of times on EVERDARK. So I wanted to go for something a little bit easier to manage, which is what the next game would be. I mean, I mentioned before we started recording I was working with Jason. He's based over in America, and we just started talking about a year ago on. Actually, it was over a year ago now, a year and a half ago. Talking about the American election, and kind of just said, look, it almost feels like it's like a playground over here, where people are just throwing insults at each other. It might even make a good game, and it kind of neither of us said no, so we kind of went mutually agreed, let's make a game. So I said, hey, let's collab, and he was hell yeah up for it, because I think at the time he thought I was a bit more of a big shot kind of board game designer, and he's come too far now to realize that I'm not. So yeah, he's been working pretty hard the last 6 months on Playground Politics, to the point now where he's actually got a physical prototype which he's now playing with his kids and wife, who bless him, still with him. So it can't be that bad a game. So he's working on it. So we have got something that's, in a year or so would be ready to go ahead and probably start pushing playtesting and building some sort of campaign. So game number 2, if EVERDARK successfully launches, game number 2 is ready to really start pushing pretty hard, and I will push it pretty hard, because EVERDARK will be gone. Obviously supporting it as a natural Kickstarter should be supported. Mm-hmm. I will also be working on an expansion for EVERDARK as well, because I've got to keep I've got to keep up with it. There's a lot more to it. There's so much more story for it that I want to explore. So I'll have game number 2. Which will be much easier, much smaller. A lot of it will be standardized components, because I found out that it's so much easier to prototype standardized components. So yeah, it'll be a smaller game. It'll be an easier game, a quicker game, less heavy, more child friendly. And yeah, no more miniatures and 3D rotating boards for a while.
Do you base a decision on an X game on the Kickstarter landscape, or do you base a decision on the next game saying, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm going to do?
I base it on what I can mentally handle.
Yeah.
EVERDARK became a monster in its own way that I did not expect. I turned up to the first expo in 2016. No idea of what, I wasn't part of the community. I literally played it with my games with my friends and said, hey, I've made this, let's show it off. And the community and the whole world was just so much more, it was so much larger than I ever expected. I was blown away by it. So I kind of burnt myself out on EVERDARK. It turned into such a massive task that for the second game I want to just go for something a bit easier, something I can just, less intense, but still kind of put so much passion and enjoyment into, which is what Playground Politics will be, because it's a quicker game, so quicker to, play test, easier to then tweak, and still hopefully, well, I say hopefully, it still will be the same kind of quality expected from, the creator of EVERDARK, which is totally a quality game, by the way.
I like the kind of conviction that you said. I think it's okay. I think. Is it okay? I think so. They've got the ring things. They're quite good. Right, okay, that's fine. Does it fit in the box? Well, not if we get the expansions, it won't. Because you have to think about that. Because if there's something that really, really boils the sweat off my brow, my hard-working brow at the moment, is when you get Kickstarters nowadays and they give you expansions and the expansions don't fit in the box. They're baggied. No. They come in the package. Here's your expansions. You go, brilliant. I'll just put them in the box. They don't fit in the box.
I will make space, because I've already found a way to shrink a lot of the components down to better sizes. So there will be space for an expansion. That's Future Ed's problem, but I know there will be space, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
And Future Ed's listening to this just now going, you're just a damn fool.
Exactly. Again, before we started recording, I said I'm no longer say things I can't, make promises I can't keep, like Kickstarter dates, and here I am saying there'll be room for an expansion. What an idiot. the nice thing about Playground Politics is that it's going to be based in like a school textbook kind of box, like a book box. So expansions would actually be another book, like textbook 2. So actually it would kind of go towards this theme of having this little library of textbooks. So the expansions would actually work in their own, in their own appropriate way. So that's why it's going to be quite a nice game to make. It's got a load of features already based around it. And expansions would be part of the aesthetic. Everdark, on the other hand, would need to fit into the same blocks or face the wrath of Richard.
Well, it's not just me. I mean, there's actually a Facebook group now saying, put our expansions in the box, please. What were you thinking about? Do you not get the prototypes off your manufacturer before you send stuff out? It's a really, really long title, and it's really difficult to find in Facebook, but it does exist.
To put it down link in the description of the podcast. I want to find it. I want to be a part of it.
No, you can't. Yes, you can. Of course you can, as long as you make sure that your expansions fit in your box, that's all. And you know what? There's a whole pile of people who are creators are going to go, is he talking about us?
Probably.
Is he talking about us? No, I'm not talking about.
There's so many pet peeves for everyone. I mean, I was talking to was it Rory he's a guy on the groups, and he's saying he hates these annoying extravagant names for these pledge goals and Kickstarter, like the extreme bundle for cool people. It's just like just call it what it is, a box for 2 people or something. But he hates it, so I find it quite funny. So I'm going to have a special Rory edition in my Kickstarter. It's going to have some sort of stupidly long name, but yeah, just
anything. The Newman, what stretch goal's that? It's the Newman Ultramicroscopic Silicon Volcaniconiosis stretch goal.
Exactly. You know what? I'm going to write that down. That's going to be the Richard edition.
Joey, to spell it for you,
please.
So it's
I've got a pen. Yeah. Right.
P.
Yeah.
N.
Yep.
I'm spelling the whole thing out. Are you joking me? Microscopic, and then it's like, and then they would have a little sign coming up on the TV, and it would say 2.5 minutes later. It's S. S is that's the last letter. There you go. That's fine. So you're gonna do that? Yeah. Is this Rory? It's not Rory J. Summers, is it?
I think it is.
Oh, Rory, you have no idea.
He opened up a can of worms. We laid into him. I think it was Kevin and I.
Did you?
We went for it. Not laid into it, but we started teasing him. So we came up with our own versions. So yeah, I think a few Kickstarters this year will have some Rory editions.
I think there'll be a few. You see, there'll be like the next one for Seamon or something like that. Maybe everybody will just. Maybe that'd be so funny if there was just an entire month of Kickstarters where they just had ridiculous sounding names. I was playing a bit with Kickstarter because I'm interested in the process. So our current stretch goals are named after biscuits.
Oh,
yeah.
Whereabouts custard cream?
Well, custard cream is the second one up, I think.
That's all right. Bourbon?
We'll start off. Not done a Bourbon, considering Bourbon is a stretch goal.
Or what about Hobnob?
Hobnob is obviously going to be the last one.
Yeah, come on, it's like the superior biscuit.
Superior, just keep on dunking. Keep on dunking.
Dunk
People,
me!
come on,
oh, God.
dunk me. I can take this. Anyway, no, yeah, because it was always an interesting thing. So we might actually, we're not seriously about doing stuff, because nobody's going to give us any money. But I'm just interested in the process, because I talked to enough people about Kickstarter. I thought, well, do you know what, I'm going to go in and actually try and create some Kickstarter pages. And do you want to know something? It's a nightmare.
Mm.
It's such a horrible interface. I'm not, obviously.
My worst thing about it is the images. There's nowhere on there that tells you what's a good resolution for the images to put down, and we had to go to external sites just to find how big an image should be. I mean, there's no standardized kind of like template sizes. I mean, I'm trying to create this Kickstarter page at the moment, and it's just like, how wide does it need to be? Is it too tall? Is it
too wide?
Is the resolution bad? Am I wasting time? And
is it 1,000 pixels? Do you want 1,500?
Exactly. I mean,
what would you prefer? I mean,
that's all I asked. So to a complete novice, it is. So I then had to start hijacking other people's Kickstarters. I spent so many times on the big Kickstarters, and looking at what they'd done and analysing with minute detail, on how they did it and trying to replicate some of their magic.
I'm just starting to think, in the bigger Kickstarters that when they fund by several million, at least 25% of that goes to paying the graphics guy for getting the graphics done on the Kickstarter.
You've got no idea. I mean, I love my illustrator. He's great, but he's costing me an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so much more work I want to get done, but it's like, I'm paying out of my pocket. If the Kickstarter does particularly well, I'll be able to fund a few more pictures and finish it off. But as it is, I might have to stop at 2 more pieces and then call it quits and go crying to the bank for a loan. It's one thing I wish I'd known when I'd started this whole thing is this isn't going to be cheap. If you do it the way I've done it, it's not cheap.
It's almost like you need a Kickstarter to do the Kickstarter.
Well, that's what they do now. People do Kickstarters just to fund the next Kickstarter. Exactly. Or they do a Kickstarter to pay for the previous Kickstarter because the first Kickstarter cost too much and they need another Kickstarter to pay for it. And it's just, you get stuck in a Kickstarter chain.
It's like moving house, but without the board games. But no, I've seen that. I've even seen. Okay, let's look at the most obvious person in the room, which is Isaac Childress, who friend of the show, and he's a nice guy when he's not trolling everybody about stuff. But he was like, everybody's like, 2nd edition of Gloomhaven, Isaac. Where is it? Come on, you're a successful Kickstarter. And he's like, well, actually, I've got to run another Kickstarter in order to make the 2nd edition of Gloomhaven actually happen. Because, the first one, there was things I needed to sort out. So I'm not now got a wad of cash I could just throw at this Kickstarter and give you kind of what you want, which is always kind of interesting.
Yeah. This is the part that terrifies me about Kickstarter and doing all this because, of the fact that, what if you run out of money? What if, you've overpromised or you've overdone it or something goes wrong. We're basically like, well, fudge, I'm now out of money. How do I pay for the second batch of manufacturing? There's so many questions and what ifs, and to someone who's new to it all, it's a minefield of questions and having to Google and talk to people, and it's it's just it's a little scary to kind of push yourself into this point where you need to start thinking about these things and the what ifs and the I can see why people spend so many years setting up these games, because it's a minefield of mistakes and successes.
Have you got, when you're thinking about the fund and goal, have you got a minimum you've got to do? Because I've brought this up a couple of times about people kind of like, and I've seen them drop their fund and goal, and I'm just like, how are you actually doing this? How are you getting this game put together for that little amount of money? And it looks like, as I say, psychology of funding. Have you got a set funding goal that you've said, right, I've got to do this, otherwise we're not going to come back and do another campaign but drop the goal kind of even further kind of thing?
A minimum amount. It's got to cover shipping, tax, manufacturing, blah, blah, blah. I've got a minimum which I would probably push it down to, I think it would be 18,000. If I could get a small order done, say I couldn't get 1,000 units created, I had to go down to 500. I could possibly drop it a bit more, but I think 18. Unless I choose to lose the miniatures, the little characters from the game, I could lose them. I could put card stands in instead, and that would drop it significantly. But without changing the components, I don't think I can get it much lower than 18,000 as a funding goal. And I don't want to get compromised on the quality.
No, you can't.
So if it fails, if I was to launch it and it fails, then well, I was speaking to Pegasus Spiel back in 2016, and they told me to get in contact with them. I didn't. I probably should have done now. But I think I could possibly find someone who would be willing to take it on full on. But because it is my first one, it's my baby. I don't want to abandon my first child. I kind of want to stick with this little bugger and see it grow up. So I want to do it my way. But worst case scenario, if what's best for the game is that Ed has to be removed from the picture because Ed's a useless so and so, I would consider speaking to someone else about it, taking it on. But no, minimum would be 18. I think. I don't think I can go any lower, realistically, without affecting the overall aesthetics.
And is the social marketing side of things, is that a daunting thing? Are you more okay? Are you more daunted about pressing the go button, or are you more daunted about getting the word out there? Because for a lot of creators, that's as difficult thing to do as pressing the go button and telling people come and like me and like my game, please.
Yeah, actually, you've hit a very sore spot with that. That's currently what's stressing me out. A lot of my WhatsApp messages to people recently have been, I'm scared about pushing that go button because, you look at people on Facebook and they've got 1,500 people, liking their page. I think there was a campaign recently, you might know who it was, I won't say any names, but they had a huge following and yet they still didn't meet their stretch goal. And I have a fraction of what they've got, following wise. And, if they've not hit it, and I'm worried that I won't. So I'm kind of holding myself back a little bit because I'm kind of waiting for this kind of dancing pony to jump out and say, look, Ed, follow me, I'll show you the way. And everyone follows it and goes, look, it's amazing. And I don't feel like I'm making enough noise. So I need the social media aspect to help. But I hate social media. It's my least favorite thing. And it means I have to basically get onto Twitter, onto Facebook and create, posts that people want to engage with. But it's slow going. I mean, I put up a trailer the other day, and I think like 3 people watched it. I got no response. I got 1 retweet on Twitter, and I got a couple of comments on some of the UK board game groups about this trailer, and everyone liked it. I watched it. Everyone loves it, but it's not making any noise, and I'm trying to slam this drum and shout, "Look at me, I'm special." It is quite daunting. It's a difficult thing to get right, and if you've got like an established community, brilliant. But it's about knowing how to use those resources, those tools in order to maximize it. And I'm useless at doing this, and I need to spend a lot more time working out how to do it. It's daunting.
Yeah. It's one of these things. I hear it again and again and again. And I know the campaign you're talking about, but I also know, potentially from a noise point of view, I don't know if there was enough noise. Right. I certainly knew there was enough noise at the time of the campaign, and there was certainly an impressive kind of Facebook kind of thing. But but there wasn't noise. There wasn't definitely noise, and I think it's still an issue. I think it's still an issue for a lot of places. There are companies that have got a crowd that are going to follow them about and are going to follow them about forever. Frank West has bust his gut building up the following he does for the City of Kings. He's now doing the City of Kings, the second reprint with Vodoran Gardens, yeah? And I will not have a bad word said about him because he's absolutely storming it. And do you know what? He deserves it because he's put the work in. He's fully engaged with everybody that's, if there's a poster guy for somebody who's done it the best way possible and the rightest way possible, then Frank is that guy. And, you look at his campaign and he's like, what is it? He's got 8 days to go. He's hit over... he's hit 200 and he's hit almost 300,000 on the campaign, and you can't say that's a fluke. That's because the guy's been
it's twice in a row now.
Yeah, exactly. He's been, he's been busting his gut to get this over the last couple of years and working kind of really, really hard. And is it a difficult thing to create noise? Of course it is. Do I envy you having to create noise for a campaign? Of course, it's just. For me, it's kind of one of these things I've always, I don't care, I will put out any type of stuff that's kind of going about, and I'm quite happy to do that. For some people, I can understand just going up to somebody and saying, hey, I'm existing, I've got a game here, could you, do you want to help me with this? Is the most terrifying thing on the planet. And I completely kind of understand that,
It's opening yourself up to this feedback, you open yourself up to this, to criticism, and no one likes being criticised. And, you put yourself out there, you put this product out there and go, please, play my game, like it. And they go away, and you in the back of your mind, you almost, worrying that, they're going to hate it, and word gets out that it's a bad game, and then that's it. You've tanked before you've even begun. And And that's part of my worry. I mean, so I keep revising. I keep going, what if they criticize this? What if they criticize that? And because the standard of games seems to be so, huge. I mean, aesthetically, the games look incredible these days. Maybe not always gameplay-wise, but,
Yeah, see, I've seen that. I mean, this is the old argument: does something that necessarily makes lots of money, does that make it a good thing? Are we equating something that funds really well to necessarily something that is actually going to be a good end product at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I've heard, it's really funny because, I mean, going back to the Polyhedron Collider guys, I'm just going to come in and say that, they totally jumped on Grim Forest when they reviewed it. And they said that, it's a really successful game, but it's a really, really expensive game for what you get, which is a strange thing. But everyone else seems to have everybody else seems to have absolutely loved it, but it did an awful lot of money. Does that make it a good game? Does a successful Kickstarter make it a really, really good game that everybody should have? I think the crying shame of Kickstarter is there are going to be several games which are fantastic, which are amazing, which are game changers, which barely manage to fund, which don't reach their full potential, and therefore you're missing out on a complete gem, which is going to change the way that some people think it's going to game because they didn't have the kind of the market and budget kind of going forward, which is an interesting concept because we're getting back into, does something that funds really well or make an awful lot of money a good thing, which is a completely different kind of discussion.
Yeah.
People could look on EVERDARK and say, this is completely different from anything else that I've seen. I absolutely love it, and if Ed's going to be promising kind of different rule sets and expansions, then I'm all in. And they jump on it and say you reach 30,000 or you reach 35,000 or you reach very, very comfortable, the game gets produced, but it's not enough for you to maybe do kind of like a reprint kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's you've got that kind of strange thing as well. It's interesting times for both
Well, I guess that's where the expansion for me would come in, because I don't think I'm going to make six figures anywhere close to that. I'll be happy with 30, 35. I mean, don't quote me on that, but if I got that, I'll be happy. I could then move on to making an expansion, and maybe, and I'll be curious to see, could an expansion lead into a smaller run of the original Everdarks with the like a stretch goal, pledge goal being you get the copy of the Everdark with the expansion. So I'm wondering if that in a way could be used to get that second run as well as the expansion out, and that could bring some life back into it, because I don't know, I don't think I'm going to be anywhere near the Frank Wests of this world, and having an expansion will be quite a daunting follow-up.
You never know. You never know. This is the thing. You never know. I mean, Mark McKinnon's launching, Wreck and Ruin for the third time at the end of this month to see if it'll fund, and he'll actually be able to make the game. I've seen other games which are just doing ridiculous amounts of money. Was it Seize the Bean?
Yeah, the coffee one. I saw them in Essen in 2016.
Yeah, coffee game. Funded through the roof, smashed it. And you could have kind of never guessed that. So it's always they had a cracking stand in 2016's Essen. I mean, I was there, and they're giving out free cups of coffee, and I was there just for the coffee, but I stayed, to watch people, and they had such a really good presence at these events. And 2016 Ed at Games Expo had this fantastic presence, and if I wanted to launch then and there, I probably could have succeeded even with that what was a lower quality game, because there was such, I had John from the game, one of the organisers of the expo. He personally came over and said, this is the one I wanted to see most this weekend. Stay in touch. I forgot to stay in touch. I kind of burned that bridge by accident, but it was huge. And then 2017's Games Expo, I was part of the Wingo Games little hub, and I was very buried in the middle of them. I felt, and there was some problems with the marketing, which I won't go into, but last year just flopped horrendously, and I feel like a lot of my following died after that, because after 2016's Expo, I was getting loads of retweets, I was getting loads of attention on Twitter, and I was loving it. And this year it's been
it's been non-existent. And so I'm hoping this Games Expo could be me banging the drum. I'm going to go for a lot more presents. I've got this really nice stand in Hall 2. It's a corner stand. I'm pretty close to Ian Livingstone, and I'm next to the card manufacturer people called Ultra something or other. So I've got this really nice location, and I'm going to have games scattered around in the playtest zone, the open play zone at the stand. So I'm going to go for maximum impact, and I'm hoping this could be, this could get the following I need. But yeah, it's so much to do, so much to think about, and it's kind of hard to keep track of it all.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
But I'm hoping that would get me a decent enough following to get a decent campaign. That could allow me to go on to make EVERDARK 2.0, the expansion, where you have this rotating strategy game of armies of Greeks versus monsters, and I don't know, it could be something really unique and something pretty special, but I've got to do well at the first one. So I'm hoping in 3 weeks' time, that's what happens.
Yeah. It'll be,
And then I got to launch. I need to work out when to launch. I mean, I wanted to launch the expo, but people go there to spend money, and the community general feedback is don't launch the expo. My family is saying launch the expo because they want me to be done with this.
Just get out of the door, Ed. Goodness sake.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Do you want jam or cream on your scone?
We don't care. We don't like either, and they lob it at me as I drive down the road.
Cream first.
I made another Sunday argument for them. Yeah, so do I launch?
I've not got time. Can we just have our argument now, please? Because I've got a place to be. So
exactly.
If I could just walk in and say, I can't believe the state of that guy in the telly. Who? You know the one I'm talking about. How dare you talk about it? And you just leave it and just walk out.
There we go.
My work is done.
Yep. Wipe your hands clean, and that's it done.
And away we go.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's all good.
Exactly. But I mean, so then my argument would be, do I launch a couple of weeks after the expo because it's fresh in people's mind? But then at that point, my social media following's not great, but my people seeing the game following would be great. So I've got to find, when do I launch following the expo compared to my social media? I mean, if I launched the expo, people would probably back it, but people, not everyone that could back it would back it because they would spend all their money on other games. So do I hold off for a while, wait for them to get ready? But then things started quieting down, so I've got to keep the heat on. I've got to keep pushing this forwards and making noise. And so it's the big when. And I lose 7 hours of sleep every night just worrying about it, just laying there thinking, when do I launch? And why the hell did I do this?
Ed is launching on the 14th of June.
Oh.
That's when he's pressing the button, regardless of what's happening. Ed is pressing the button at 10 a.m. on the 14th of June.
I genuinely
That's
could.
when he's doing he's going to press that button. That's when he's launching. You've heard it here first. He's just sent me a Skype message. He's now sending me lots of emojis which don't look very happy. However, it's the 14th of June is the launch date.
If I had to pick a date, 15th of June would be way better. It's a Friday. People are, at their office desks and they're going trawling for the internet because they want to go home and they want to do it on the 15th. But no, Thursday it is. Thursday's the new Friday.
Thursday 14th, that's what it is, yep. You know what I mean?
I could genuinely launch it then, if that's 60, what people wanted.
60, just do it. Just do it and see what happens.
Well,
that's the first step.
What's the worst that happen? My campaign fails. Okay, round 2.
You can go back again.
All right.
It's all good fun.
14th of June.
I'm just throwing a whole pile of risk in your direction. I could just walk away.
I'm genuinely going to write a book about how not to kickstart it, and chapter 1 will be don't listen to Richard. Don't do 14th of June. It's a cursed day.
There's quite a few people that have already put that in their books.
Yeah. Yes.
So hear it here first. 14th of June, no pressure on Ed at all. He's not going to be blocking me and not refusing me to send his audio, so he can't put this interview together. So it's just going to be by side. So if you hear a lot of gaps, that's not Ed talking. Ed just went in a massive clotted cream puff, basically.
Yeah, you got me. All right, let's just roll with that.
There you go. If we want to follow you on the internet, webs, webs, where can we find you?
As I say, these days I go by the whole Edventure Games thing. I mean, the Walrus Games website's still live. I've kept it. Mainly because, unlike Adventure Games, it kind of gets the first page of Google when you type in EVERDARK, which is frustrating. But yeah, www.adventuregames.co.uk. That's adventure with an ed at the front, because I'm punny and really need to get a sense of humour. Or you can find me on Twitter at adventure_games, or on Facebook, adventure_games, or on Instagram, adventure_games. You know, I've kind of got that one sorted out. So any of those places. The website's looking really good. I spent a whole day redesigning the entire thing, so it looks pretty cool now. It's got a nice teaser trailer on the front page. I've even got a YouTube channel.
No.
It's got one trailer on it.
Really?
Well, I was using it as a way to send links out to people rather than having to upload it. So that's Adventure Games. Like a parrot. But yeah, I even got a subscriber. Cardboard Cultist. He's a board game reviewer. Very nice of him.
Well, there you go. That's nice of him.
But yeah.
And you can find us we're in all the usual haunts and usual places. So you can find us on Twitter at We're Not Wizards. You can find us on Facebook at We're Not Wizards. You can find us on Instagram at We're Not Wizards. We've got a blog. I don't know why we've got a blog. We've got a review on the blog for Darwin's Choice. Well, it's a preview. It's not a review. You know, it's worthwhile reading because it's a bit of writing. And I did it all myself, and nobody helped me to the joined up writing bits, which are always difficult for me. But that's we're not wizards.blogspot.com. Have a look, because there's going to be some more stuff coming along. I have no idea why I've decided I've got to write and expose you poor people to more of my nonsense. I have no idea why. You can find us on all the podcast catcher places. We really appreciate everybody who listens. I mean, we totally appreciate you. If you ever want to talk to us, chat with us, just drop us a DM on Twitter or drop us an email, magic@we'renotwizards.com. I am aware of the irony of the email address. That's why I chose it. If you like us very, very much, please jump onto things like Podbean, which are our hosts who are fantastic, and they put all of our episodes automatically on YouTube. But find us on Podknife and Stitcher and Spotify and Spreaker and Acast and Player FM and all these wonderful, fantastic places. If you like us really, really much, then please jump on to Apple Podcasts and drop us a subscription, because apparently that makes everybody... Well, it makes me happy. I'm not saying it makes everybody happy. You know, but if you don't start dropping subscriptions, I'm going to start dropping Infinity War spoilers.
Alright, Satan, calm down.
I'm just that's not true. I would never do that.
Oh, man.
I'm just going to send you a list of... No, I'm not. If you like us even more, then please consider giving us a review or a rating. And as we say, as always, if you are going to be giving us a rating or review, please avoid giving us 10 stars, because that does make us big-headed, and as you can understand, I'm kind of self-serving, quite egotistical and shallow at the same time.
Whoa. This episode will let you off 10 stars, but all others 9.
Don't give us a 0, because that'll make us cry.
I will definitely cry.
Give us something in the middle, because it's like 5, because it's average, and we're decidedly average. Ed, iTunes rating only goes up to 5.
I don't use iTunes. I live under a rock. A Cornish rock.
I live under a rock. Yeah, but the person who's not been average tonight is rather wonderful. They're rather fantastic.
Aww.
The man who we should all be hearing more from very, very soon when he launches his Kickstarter on the 14th of June. I did not mean that to rhyme. Je suis le poet, and I didn't know it. It's the rather wonderful, the rather fantastic Mr. Ed Harrison.
Hey, thank you. Honestly, pleasure being here. And yeah, I'm glad to be back after a year. I'm sorry for hiding, everyone.
That's okay.
I'm back. It's good to be back.
Guess who's back?
Back again. Eddie's back. Tell a friend. 14th of June, 14th of June, 14th of June. Oh no.
What? Ever.
Dark.
Ever.
Oh lordy! And you just lost a few subscribers.
That's fine. It happens all the time. We win them back eventually. They always come back to see why has he done 176 episodes. What is he doing?
Who's he talking to?
Used to talking to myself because I get to listen back to my beautiful voice. There's only 2 more things to do. It's turned shambolic.
I fail this bit.
The first thing is to remember that it's jam and then clotted cream.
Yeah, before you get chased by the Cornish.
You get chased out of the Cornish.
I'm
it's all right.
so gonna die.
They can't run that fast, but apparently they can swim like demons. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Mr. Ed Harrison. Say goodbye, Mr. Ed Harrison from Edventure Games. Not the Walrus Games. Ruined my intro, but that's it.
Goodbye, Ed Harrison from Adventure Games, not Walrus Games.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe. Roll 6s. Just wait. Prepare yourself.
This isn't working, is it?
Prepare yourself for the multi-award-winning.
You jinxed it now.
Game.
I'm going to get 1 award.
That's going to be coming a week before summer solstice. It is the wonderful, the fantastic EVERDARK. Say goodbye, Ed.
Bye, Ed.
And it's a goodbye from me. Bye.
Adios. Wait, are we wizards?
No.
We're not wizards.
No, sometimes.